Hey everyone, welcome back to another video where I am going to be exploring watercolor inks. As I've been experimenting with color schemes and trying to study the color wheel, I thought why not do it with all my unused art supplies? Well, I go on these art supplies shopping spree and get so much stuff at times but don't end up using them because I am too precious with them, but not anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to play with them, I want to learn, and I want to grow my art skills. Watercolor inks are dye based and they are super concentrated, so you just need a tiny amount and you can dilute it to make a lot of color. That's why I'm just dropping a teeny tiny bit, as I had not decided on the palette I would use for each of these paintings. I just kind of went with the flow. So, to test out these watercolor inks, I decided to paint 3 postcards, and I'm just getting all my things ready. I have the postcard size watercolor paper taped down, and with a wet brush, I'm applying plain water all over the paper so the colors can flow and bleed into each other. I wanted to experiment with the wet on wet technique and wanted all the colors to be bleeding into each other, creating these beautiful effects. So that will be the base of all the paintings I create for this video. For the first painting, I wanted to play around with some warm colors, so I went ahead with orange and yellow. At first, I had this idea of a fiery sky, something like a fiery galaxy. And then I let that idea brew in my head, and it turned out to be completely different at the end. So just keep on watching. As the background dried, I took a break and kept on thinking about what I should be doing on this, and I came up with the idea of an erupting volcano. And I think that kind of matched with my initial idea of having a fiery sky. And I also wanted a very dramatic sky for this, so I started working on different parts of the sky where I wanted it to be darker, where I wanted it to be lighter, and so on. To get darker shades, I also added some brown in orange, and for the lighter shades, I used lemon yellow. After the second layer of the background had dried, I started working on the focal point of this painting, which would be the volcano. So for this I used a dark brown color to make the outline, and then with a clean wet brush I started making streaks of water inside the shape of the volcano, leaving some areas dry in between. I also followed the bleeds of the pigments within the shape because I wanted some areas to show up lighter and some areas to be darker. And then slowly started spreading the pigment in these wet areas, and also started lifting and pulling in the pigment from the outline towards the inside of the volcano. Although this process was a little bit slow, it was still very relaxing, and I enjoyed doing this because I had so much room to experiment. Another thing I noticed about these inks was that the more water I used, it created these noticeable hard edges, which I did not mind as much for this painting because I was kind of going for that effect, but it did create some problems in my next piece, which I will be talking about later. As the first layer of the volcano was drying, I started working on the smoke and the eruption, with the lava spurting out of the opening of the volcano and the sky going ablaze. To add an element of fantasy to this, I wanted to take it a notch higher, so I dipped a brush in white paint and started splattering it all over this to create these little stars, or rather ash, because this is a volcano after all. And then I intentionally smeared some big drops of white paint to finally finish off this painting. And now the moment we have been waiting for, which is the most satisfying part, the tape peel off. Despite using so many washes and so much water in my painting, I was happy that it did not bleed through inside the tape, and this is how the painting turned out. Although I'm not a fan of the orange color because of all the political reasons, I still like how this turned out, and somehow this color palette worked for this painting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, how you think it turned out. And now let's move on to the next one. For this painting, I started out in the same way, applied plain water all over the page, and then started out with a very light green wash. After the first layer had dried, I went in with another wash of a darker green and then added some variation in different places by adding more color and leaving some places lighter. I used two different shades of green. One was slightly warmer and one was a cooler green. For this painting, I did not have an idea until I painted the background green. It reminded me of bushes and shrubs and foliage, so I thought of trying negative painting. This is the first time I was doing negative painting on paper. I have done this digitally, but I think it was a completely different experience than this one. And before that, I wanted to plan out the leaves I would be using on each layer. So for anyone who doesn't know what negative painting is, to put it simply, it's just painting around the objects, painting the background surrounding the object to bring out its shape. So that space outside of the object itself is referred to as negative space. And that's why it's called negative painting, which will definitely have a positive impact on you because it's painting after all, it's therapeutic. I know, bad joke. But it did not have a positive impact on me. Well, it kind of did. Because I got to learn about negative painting and the technique itself with this painting. But spoiler alert, I did not like this painting at all, and I will be talking about it in a bit. So before that, let me just walk you through all the steps I followed for this. After the background dried, I started sketching out the different shapes of leaves for the first layer with a medium green color. And after that, I will be painting outside of the shapes of these leaves with the same medium green color. It depends on how complex or how simple you want the composition to be. You can use overlapping leaves or shapes or just make them layer by layer. I did not use a particular reference for this. I just instinctively put all the leaves here and there and made some of them overlap each other, and that's how I just filled out the full page. After adding the leaf shapes, I started filling color around these shapes, so that would make the area around the shape darker so the shape itself can pop out a little bit. And then wait for it to dry so I can add other layers. But little did I know that the problem would only be visible after this layer dried.
It looks so bad. I think I pushed the limits of this watercolor paper. It's not that strong, I would say. It's just 200 GSM. Also, it's cellulose watercolor paper, so I understand why it wouldn't be able to handle so much water. And even before that, I had applied already too many washes, and I absolutely hate this. But I guess negative painting is quite tricky. But I did uncover some techniques that I might be practicing more on this, like when I'm adding more darker values or darker shades of green, I need to push it even more. I have to use a shade that almost resembles black to add more of that contrast. And I also need to work on the shapes of the leaves. Right now, these outlines and these I don't know what this is called, how it just, I'll just show you, hold on. yeah, these weird outline like things after drying watercolor when it dries like this. I don't know why that happens. I'll have to research a bit, and I have a couple of reasons. Like, I can think that maybe like I use too much water, sometimes that happens because of that, and also when the paper quality is not that good, maybe then, and too many layers. So the layer beneath the first layer also gets reactivated, and then it's all a watery mess. So now I'll try to salvage this maybe by doing some outline with white gel pen. Let's see what happens.
So, with not a lot of high hopes, I started outlining these shapes in an offset style, meaning that the outlines would not be perfectly aligned with the shape, because I thought that would take the attention away from the hard edges of these shapes. But just the outlining did not do much by itself. So I thought I would push the darker values with some color pencils. So I used a very dark green color pencil to slightly darken the areas around these shapes so that the shapes would pop off more. And while layering with color pencils, I left some lighter areas in between in the shape of smaller leaves, so that would show some more leaves underneath, making it a second layer of leaves. And after doing all that, it's time for the tape removal. Let's see how this turned out. I wasn't very happy with this because I wanted to achieve the full effect with just watercolors, and I feel like I cheated a bit by adding color pencils. But I learned something new, and I will be using this in the next negative paintings I do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's move on to the next one. For this one, I had a specific itch that I wanted to scratch. I wanted to create a galaxy effect with the typical galaxy colors of purple, blues, and pinks. So, without thinking much, I started laying down the colors and let them bleed. I did not have to be very intentional or careful about where I would put which color, so I just picked up colors and put it on the paper. The purples, blues, and pinks looked so beautiful. It created such a dreamy effect, and now that I'm looking at it, I feel like I should have also added some black. I used to think that painting galaxies was very difficult, seeing those seamlessly blended colors, but as I was doing this, I found out that the beauty of these galaxy paintings is about randomness. You don't have to control much. You just let the colors do their magic as they flow into each other. As I was deeply involved in this process, I kept on experimenting with adding more water, more color, and when I saw that a puddle of water was forming in a place, I tilted my surface a bit and used a straw to blow the water in different directions. I really loved and enjoyed how playful this whole process was. What is a galaxy without stars? Of course, we had to add the stars. So I used the same paint splattering method, and I think whoever invented this was a genius. Honestly, it is so satisfying to watch and so much fun to do. It's uncontrolled, it's spontaneous, it's random, it's just everything fun. As I was creating this painting in particular, I was thinking about the process of art and how much it means to be in the process and to enjoy it. I actually think about that a lot. And lately, I feel like art is one of the things that keeps us human. Being a creative person is a strength, especially in today's times. And to represent that, I wanted this postcard to be a symbol for it. For me, and I think many other artists, art is resistance, isn't just a saying, it's a defense mechanism and our armor. Art transcends boundaries and it is our most powerful form of resistance. Art is resistance against inhumanity. It stands up for the suffering of every human being. It stands up against the machines that are destroying human creativity. It is the voice of the voiceless and the silenced. And it is a reminder that we don't create to please an algorithm, we create to reclaim our humanity from these machines. And that's why I wanted to create this postcard as a middle finger to the machines threatening to automate our souls, and also as a symbol for resistance through art that we can show for all the injustices around us. I know it got a bit heavy towards the end, but I don't think we have the privilege to be comfortable anymore and do our bit in everything we can and not just stay passive observers. With that, this video comes to an end, and you can take a final look at all the 3 paintings, pieces, or postcards I created for this video while testing out these watercolor inks. Let me know which one you like the most and which one you don't like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I always love hearing from you all. And until we meet next time, take care and keep creating. And also, please subscribe to my channel if you like my content. It takes a lot of effort and time to create these videos, and getting your support really means the world to me. Thank you so much and take care. Bye.